As you remember, in a previous episode, we talked a lot about Barcelona, our life there, and we mentioned that we had to find a new place because the one that we rented from Brazil wasn't that great after all, and we were able to finally find a new apartment. So I'm gonna share now with you some key points that when you're looking for a place to live in Barcelona, I believe it applies to any major big city that you have in Europe, and even here in Canada if you're looking for a place to rent in Toronto or in Montreal. First, inform yourself about how it works to rent a place. We knew jack nothing about how to rent a place, what was required from us. We learned that you need a deposit. The deposit depends on the landlord and the real estate agency you're talking to. Usually it can go from 2 months to sometimes 3-4 months of rent in advance. That's what they would call fianza.
Fianza, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a way to ensure that if any damages occur to the apartment, they will have money to cover those expenses.
Like in the world, like they ask for that. So it's like, like it's just this deposit. Like I think even in Brazil they ask for that, but since we were never being renters there,
yeah,
everything was new to us.
You need also someone to guarantee your rent, which of course happens everywhere. And for that we had to ask your mother.
Yeah. Hey, Mom.
Hey, thumbs up, Mom. Third, they're gonna ask for income. And when you're a student, it's hard to negotiate because you barely have no income. In our case, we couldn't work.
Yeah.
Some countries will allow you to work, but still it's gonna be like a bare minimum amount of hours per week. And in the big cities, it won't be probably enough to cover for your rent. So keep that in mind that you need to have some kind of reserve. And even then, the real estate agencies may not accept it. And in our case, we got lucky, they accepted us for that. So there's the fianza, there's the guarantor for your rent, plus you have to pay the real estate agency fee. Oh, there's one small detail about the fianza that I forgot to mention, that by Spanish laws, they cannot use that money. Once you give that deposit, they have to keep that. It has to stay there inside that safe, so by the time you move out, they're gonna go there, take that money from the safe, minus what you need, any outstanding bills,
or any damages that you cause to the property.
And after that, the leftover is yours. Spoiler.
Should go.
That's a spoiler. Plus, you have to make sure that light, water, natural gas, electricity are all set up under your name.
Yeah.
And that there are no outstanding balances from previous owners or previous tenants. So by the time you move in, you're like starting with a clean slate from zero. So you have nothing to pay, no leftovers for you to pay or to negotiate eventually with the landlord, because then you have to prove that's not on you. To wrap up, if you are ever planning on renting a place, first, the deposit or fianza. Make sure you can negotiate that, because sometimes it's going to be a huge amount of money right out of your pocket. Second, make sure you have someone that can vouch for you and be your guarantor.
Very important.
That's very important. Third, make sure that you negotiate also the fees, or at least you know the fees that you have to pay to the real estate agency. Fourth, double check, triple check if everything's fine with the condo before you move in. Life's full of surprises, and when you're living abroad, the least thing that you want is this kind of surprise. Just make sure that you're gonna be happy there, that you've chosen the right place or the best possible place ever for you, and that it fits in your budget.
Okay, so little story about that. I think we moved there about a month or something?
We've been living there for about less than a month.
Yeah, a month or so or something like that.
And our classes, they were mostly in the evening, so we had the mornings and part of the afternoons free. And we were there sitting, doing our stuff, still getting things in order, because of luggage and stuff. And then it's funny because then we hear this noise about on the lock, and then it started to force in the locker. Like, what the hell? What's going on? And they were like, someone's trying to break in?
Yeah. You're like, okay. Yeah.
And then I do remember I looked at the door, and they were going really hard on the lock, like brum, 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 as if they tried to make something fit into that.
Yeah.
And then I went to open the door. I was like, what the? And then when I opened the door, there was a lady and a guy that I had never seen them before in my life. And they were there looking at me with eyes this big. I was like, yes. And
yeah. And it was so funny because the lady was actually a real estate agent, and she was doing a showing, like a visiting the apartment for this guy. Like the apartment was actually still on the market.
Long story short, she managed to break the key inside the lock. Then came another learning from Spain, because we called the agency and said, hey, someone just came here and screwed up the lock, right? And she said, oh yeah, okay, so you can call someone to have it fixed and then send us the bill. I don't know anyone here, I don't know who to call, it's not on me, it's on you, right?
Or at least help us to find someone, like we are new here, we don't know anything, anyone.
And then it was a little bit of back and forth, and then they said, oh, okay, we're sending you someone
tomorrow.
So there was, I don't remember that day when we saw that graffiti on the wall. The graffiti said, Mañana estamos en España, meaning something like tomorrow we are in Spain.
Yeah, like don't expect things to happen fast or, you know, like rush. It's just like, okay, I'll take my time and yeah, tomorrow we'll see about it.
So we had no lock in our apartment.
Yeah.
She went to her class. I decided to stay because like good Brazilians, we were like, no, I'm not leaving my belongings behind. Then she came back home. At some point you have to sleep, right? And now what? Who's sleeping on the couch today just to try to keep an eye on the door, you know?
Yeah, it was funny. And then eventually, like the next day, the guy didn't show up.
No.
So we had like another night like that. So he missed he missed the first day of class, and I had to miss one day because again, we didn't want to leave our stuff, you know, like just for anyone to just come and grab stuff. So
yeah.
And then the following day, the guy came and fixed everything. Everything was fine. And obviously he charged us.
And we said, no, actually you go to this address here and charge those ladies. Yeah. They are the ones that from the rental office. The guy showed up on the second day, but not before 10:30 a.m.
Oh yeah.
Nothing happens until 10:30.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember when I said to double check if I like have no outstanding balances in your natural gas, electricity, or water bill?
There's a very good reason why you have to double check those things. Fasting forward to a couple of months again, and then we had a problem with the gas, the boiler. So we had like what, a leak or something?
Yeah, because every time we would leave the apartment and we would return, we would kind of smell a little bit of gas, natural gas, and we were like, what? Why?
But before, like we tried to call again our ladies from the real estate agency. And they said, oh yeah, you have to call the gas company.
Yeah, so we booked a visit, a paid visit. And then the guy came. And when he first saw that, was that, oh, there's an actual gas leak. You can no longer use that any.
Tape it and sealed everything. Yeah.
Sealed, and we were like, wait.
Okay, so I was like, okay, so how do we do how do we take a shower? How do we cook? How do we do anything here?
The guy was like,
I don't know, I have to wait. Like, okay, wait for what? Oh yeah, for another technician to come and see the problem, assess everything, because you have to assess from the street and see everything, if it works and what's the actual problem. So then we can fix it. And this would definitely be a couple of days or weeks.
And so we called
again,
we called them, called the ladies again, and they said, oh, don't bother about it. Just remove the seal. No, I'm not doing this. If you want to do that, you call someone to come over here and do that for you, because I'm not touching it. And by the way, until someone comes here and fixes this, we are not paying the rent. On that note, someone came in and showed up really quickly.
Yeah, that time they were fast. So they called. I think they managed to call the right people, and they came. There was nothing actually major in the end. There was nothing in the street to be fixed. It was actually on the meter.
Yeah.
So they had to just I think it was just like some plumbing or something they had to quickly fix. They fixed very quickly. Yeah. And then was done. That was a quick one.
But then came the other part of this.
Oh, the bill.
One thing triggers another, right? So when a guy came, he saw the numbers. That were the numbers on the meter. Long story short, we received a notice from the gas company saying that they tried to withdraw an outstanding payment from our account, and that outstanding bill was like 2,000 euros. Luckily enough, we did not have that amount of money, and so they couldn't proceed with the withdrawal. But we were like panicking, like, okay, we would be with no funds whatsoever because that amount of money was the money for groceries and overheads. And we complained again to the real estate agency, and they said, but if they ever do that, we're gonna give you a discount on the rent.
Yeah, sure.
Sure,
How do we eat? Yeah.
And then they sent the bill, and then they got the bill, they sent that to the owner, and the owner said he would pay whenever he could. And about that visit from the technician, he said that we should be the ones paying for that visit.
Yeah.
Because we were the ones who triggered the problem, right?
Yeah, like, and I remember like at the end of the beautiful story, like we actually like, okay, fine, we'll pay for that. I think we split the bill 50-50.
Yeah, we decided to just
yeah,
split that.
like, and then okay, fine, let's end with this. Again, like we mentioned before, this is something that you have to check. Sometimes it's hard to check for those things, but it's important to try to, like see like how if the utilities are paid, everything is in order, all those things are like in perfect place, because then you can avoid those kind of issues. Moving to another subject, a very, very important one to learn about Spain, the long weekends. Sí, señor. Those are very common and happen very often. Like, it's funny, like how, like, for example, like one long weekend that happens like on a Thursday or Wednesday, they will close everything till Monday or depending on Tuesday. So we have actually like mini vacation. Like, okay, like how do I go about my studies? Like your productivity changes, like that messes up a little bit with like your, like your pace of studies. You have, things to do. Maybe you're like too like nerds probably because you like to study,
For sure.
like to have like, like a routine.
Yeah, and a
like,
schedule.
Yeah, and in the beginning we're like, okay, like what are you gonna do now?
Like they say in Spain, hay que disfrutar de la vida. You have to enjoy life. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
One puente is okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row, almost in a row, like twice a month. Or
Yeah, it's funny.
It's kind of funny, but at the same time, you're like, okay, now, but what do I do?
Yeah, but in the end it was funny. Like, it was good because we started to like, okay, let's like change the pace a little bit, because like back in Brazil, like you're always like working, and we're like never stop. Like, although we had lots of long weekends, we still like it's a very like a hard working kind of society in Brazil.
And we didn't have those long weekends. I mean, if the holiday was on a Wednesday, okay, you're back to work on Thursday and Friday, period.
Yeah.
Maybe if the holiday falls on a Thursday, maybe you can get a Friday off. Maybe.
Yeah. Like, I think like halfway through our experience in Spain, we decided, okay, let's relax, let's like go with the flow, and like let's enjoy this vibe. And actually it was really good because that was the opportunity that we had to take a little bit time off from studies, go to other places, like you could take a trip to like go like hop on a train, go to France, you can hop on a train again and go to Portugal, or like the flights are so cheap there that you can just like remember that we got like a flight for €2 that we went to Porto in Portugal. Yes. And spend like the long weekend, like the puente.
We decided to embrace the opportunity, and like she said, let's go with the flow. So if that's how they live, let's learn from them. At the beginning we were like, no, give me something to do, I need to work, I have to work. Yeah. And then we were like, yeah, oh, another puente, venga. Yeah. Let's talk about another tradition in Barcelona and in Spain in general. Yeah. Salir de copas, or go out for drinks with your friends.
Happy hour. Yeah.
Happy hour. Because in Spain, also, you have to keep in mind that they start late, the work day around 9:30, 10, and then they stop around noon, 1.
Yeah, and they stop till what?
2,
3, 4, depending on the business.
Yeah, and then they work until 7, 8, and then they go out and they have dinner or they just
drinks.
Like their day ends at around 11.
Yeah, it's a very joyful style of living. Like we start to like get under this rhythm and try to, okay, that after class, actually, like our classes would end about like 9:30, 10, and then let's go for some drinks, why not? Yeah. Or sometimes, like, depending on the place you go, like the bar that you go, like they serve in Catalonia, not so much, but in other places in Spain they serve like the tapas for free, so you get like one caña, one beer, and then you get like a free tapa. One place I remember that we went in Granada, that they served us like a burger. And we're like, no, this is not, we haven't ordered that. And the guy like, no, this is for free. Like.
And since we were two broke students, you know what? It's for us. It was almost free lunch.
Yeah, exactly,
it was actually so.
But in Catalonia, that's not very common. Don't expect to get like so many free tapas. And another thing I like about the lifestyle in Spain is like you mentioned, like everything goes like so like gets open so late, and like you can like go to your class, go to your drinks after class. And then if so, you need something to eat, you can actually go to the supermarket because it's still open sometimes, depending on the place that you live in the city. Also, it's something that we learned there, like it's just, you know, how to making friends, you know, in Spain. And obviously, like we made friends, lots of friends, still have those friends till this day. But we always found difficult in make friends with the locals. And I don't know, there's something I don't know how to explain, but like it's when you're expat, it's so easy to know and meet people from many places around the world, and you meet the locals. Like we had like our neighbors there, like well, old people, but still,
but very lovely people.
Very lovely people, but like it's a different, you know, approach. It's kind of different. So for us, was kind of difficult to make friends with the locals.
If you ever go to a different country, please do learn the local language. We see lots of people that they move to Portugal, they move to Spain, they move to Germany. They are always asking, can I get by with only English? Please, be kind, be polite, show that you really care, and learn the local language. So do yourself a favor and learn the local language. Don't rely solely on English and then, I hope they speak English there. You're gonna just be missing out a whole universe. Those places that do not speak English. We're gonna talk about a very important, serious topic here: food, specifically groceries. And we learn a lot about how groceries can really be good in Spain.
Oh yeah, and like I mean, groceries are like very, very affordable there. Again, compared to Brazil and actually compared to Canada as well. It is very affordable. And like I remember, like we were going like to the supermarket, and if you go with the basics, with low cost brands, the supermarket brands, very good quality, very good products, everything is very fresh, but still very affordable. So if you go with the basics, like, you know, like purchasing your bread, butter, you're gonna go about like what, like at that time, now it would be a little bit more, but that time like a week of grocery would be like 10 euros
10, 15 euros,
something like that. Very affordable.
And whenever we felt like splurging, meaning instead of 15 the bill being around 17, tops 20 euros, it's because we bought lots of wine. And decent good wine for around 2 euros a bottle.
That was very, very cheap and very good wine.
Yeah, so it was like, okay, so every week we could have wine, brie, good bread, fruits, jamón ibérico. And that was another thing that caught our attention, because we were, can I eat well? Not eating like kings, but eat well and healthy and without going bankrupt? I have to say that sometimes, most of the groceries, we would go to low-cost supermarkets like Lidl, Dia, you know, or Carrefour.
But you know, like we tried to go like as low cost as we could, because again, low budget, and it was very good. You know, the quality was good. Like, and obviously, like we after like we went to Spain like twice. We did our like little tour and saw like, okay, the things that we bought at that time, and now we're like, oh, okay, like this could be a little bit better. Now we can afford for better things, obviously, but still, when you're like in a very short budget, there are options that are affordable, good, and healthy for you. So yeah, like all those things, like the affordability of, you know, like groceries, food, the great wine, oh my god, everything, like it was like the fresh food, it was so good that made us like every day falling a bit in love with Spain.
Not to mention the lifestyle. They do work. Sometimes they take their time.
Yeah, and then like we fell in love with that, honestly. Like it took us time to understand things and, you know, like get by and, you know, like roll with the flow, like I said. So it was kind of, you know, like wasn't like a love at first sight, I would say, but like with the time we're like, okay, oh my god, this place, it is amazing. We really wanted to stay, but then realized our masters were finishing, that year was like actually ending, and then we're like, okay, what do we do now?
And then we realized that we were too late in the game if we wanted to stay, because first, like we mentioned, they take their time. Second, our visas, they expressly said that once the studies were over, we had to leave the country.
Yeah.
What do? We cannot apply for a work visa. There was barely a job for the locals, let alone for us. We had to finish our masters, and maybe we can try to apply for an extension of that visa by enrolling in another course.
Yeah, and we actually did try that, but didn't work because, again, we were late in the game. Like, we had to like collect all the documents, gather everything that we needed, and we didn't have the proper time to organize what we had to. So we had to gather documents from Brazil. We had to gather, you know, like get enrolled and accepted by another school and get the money for that. So we started to like, okay, let's try this route, and then we tried to apply, but again, yeah, it was too late. You have to leave, and yeah, I think they're still processing your, you know, like application to this day.
We were so green, so naive, and we didn't realize that a process like that, of course, it would take time. Anywhere in the world, it would require some processing time, at least I would say a month. So how could we possibly expect to have that in less than that? Especially when we were approaching summertime, summer vacation, month of August in Europe. They're like, I'm going for vacation, see you in September. But that gave us more experiences in contact with bureaucracy, Spanish bureaucracy.
We tried the best that we could to stay legally.
For us, it was out of the question staying legally.
Yeah.
So we went to that office, that government office, and I do remember that when we handed the papers, they barely looked at us. I don't know what was missing.
Yeah, definitely, because like I said, like we like tried to gather everything so fast that we definitely missed something.
Yes.
And they said like,
oh yeah, you're missing something here. You're not like, you don't have everything. So.
But we didn't have the time to book another appointment because we had to leave, and we had scheduled our backpack. So.
Yeah, but before the backpack, remember that we also had to notarize one signature for one document.
Yeah.
Regarding our diplomas.
Yes.
And then we thought, because here in Canada or even in Brazil, to go to a notary and get that signature notarized, it's on the spot. And then we went to a notary office in Spain. Yeah. Hey, by the way, we need to, you know, those signatures here, have them notarized.
Come back in 3 days.
Huh? What?
Yeah, 3 days.
3 days? I don't remember. The guy almost said, if you don't want it, then just take your
papers. Nothing I can do, yeah.
Yeah, just take your papers back with you.
Yeah,
Okay, fine, no, please do it. And then we just had to ask someone that was one of our friends living there to, you know, can we use your address so they can send it by regular mail to you, and once you have it, we're gonna pay you to send those things over to us in Brazil. And I said, yeah, totally fine. So we had summer approaching, our masters were over. We're here in Europe, we still have some free time, we still got some money. By the way, here, remember when I said about the fianza and that money should be kept inside the safe? When we were handing over the keys, we asked for the fianza. They said they didn't have the money because they gave the money to the landlord. And the landlord said that once he had all the money, he would give that to us. But wait, by law, you shouldn't.
Yeah, but they didn't, you know, and like in the end, I was like, oh my God, this will make all the difference in like the last month for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like actually they gave us back because like obviously like we when we returned the apartment, like everything was all kept, pristine. We tried to keep, we were very organized and very, you know, like clean, respectable and clean. So
at the end of that story, so okay, have your keys. We had our money, and then we finally went backpacking.
And it was an amazing month. Like we took all the month of August to go, and like we started in France. Yeah, we started in Montpellier. It's an amazing city, so cute, very nice. Then we went up to Lyon.
Lyon.
Then we went to Dijon, Then after that, we went up a little bit further north
Strasbourg?
in France. Strasbourg, yeah, like
Yeah.
the border of France
And
and
Germany. And that was our plan because trains in France, they're not as affordable
Yeah.
as
Again,
we
we
thought.
didn't plan.
We didn't plan, we just decided to go with the flow.
Yeah.
But then once we arrived in Germany, we realized that the trains there, they were so cheap. Instead of finishing our backpacking in Strasbourg, when we saw that,
Yeah.
oh, let's go to Baden-Baden. Never heard of that city before.
Yeah.
Let's go. They say it's beautiful. And then
Yeah,
we went.
You went there, and then we were like, okay, let's stretch a little bit, go to Stuttgart, right?
Boom.
Then we went to Stuttgart, and then we went like, okay, but you're almost like, I know it's far, but still it's so cheap to go to Berlin. Yeah, and I, like, as an architect again, like I always wanted to like know Berlin. I was like, okay, let's go, and then okay, yeah, we went to Berlin. And then you're like, okay, but Czech Republic is just like around the corner. Like, why not?
It's an overnight train, you know.
Yeah.
Why not? Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, pretty affordable.
And actually, like Prague in Czech Republic, it's so affordable. Like everything, it's so cheap. Like the beer is amazing.
Amazing
so
beer,
good.
amazing, so good.
The food is delicious. And we were like, okay, like let's stay. And we booked 2 days, and then we were like, okay, let's stay one more day.
Yeah, one more day, and
And
why
then,
not?
yeah.
But keep in mind that throughout this process, we weren't exactly keeping the books in order.
Yeah,
Like we were
and
just-
you're going like further and further away from Barcelona, where we had to go back to Brazil. So
It
we
was,
were like, now we're like in Czech Republic, and they're like, okay, we have little money, and then we had to get back. It's like,
but
how
we still had
do-
a stop, Munich.
I know, yeah, we had to stop in Munich because it was the cheapest and fastest train to get
Yeah.
there. And then we went to Munich. Then to Munich we went again to Strasbourg because it was the only way to cross to France. And then to Strasbourg, and then to get to Barcelona was like a huge stretch. We were almost crossing the entire France. And I remember like, okay, like it was so expensive, the train, because we were back in France, and trains in France are very expensive.
And we were like panicking.
You're like, okay, like what do we do now? We have literally very little money,
and
and
yeah.
okay, like there's no other way. We have to get this ticket and get to Bordeaux, which was like the closest, the nearest that we could get to Barcelona.
Yes.
And then from there we had to take a bus because it was the cheapest option to get back to Barcelona.
And once we got in Barcelona, we had to take another train
Yeah.
to our friend's city
Yeah.
where they lived
Because
in.
they live like in the suburbs of Barcelona.
Barcelona. And I do remember that we arrived around like 5 a.m. from Bordeaux.
Yeah.
And the first train was at 7.
And I remember that we had like what, 5, 10
10
euros,
euros, 10 euros
in
left.
our wallet, and that was it. We stretched it to the max that we could.
Yeah, we stretched it really thin. And after that, we stayed at our friend's place. We still tried to apply for some jobs, even in England, where we knew some people.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, but do you have a visa? Did you apply for this? Did you try that? And no time, and taking a plane next week. But that was a great lesson for us. Like,
I think like the main thing here is just like to plan ahead. If you wanted to move abroad, if you wanted to stay in that place, you have to plan, then
Yeah.
organize yourself, you know.
true.
You know, like do your research, gather all the information that you can, because that will make a big difference in like in the way that you go with your life in that place.
I mean, one thing is what we did when we just two students, let's go. But once you want to make it part of your project of life, you have to be sure that
Yes.
you made everything that's possible. It won't be perfect. It still will have some flaws, but still you made sure that you try to cover as many bases as possible.
Yeah, and to avoid all the mistakes that, for example, like we could have avoided like so many things that happened to us in those hiccups.
Yes.
You know, because those things, like at the end of the day, like those things are kind of cost you some money. You know, like not planning ahead on our backpacking, but you know, like it could like have like a little bit more planned, and then it could go further.
Yeah.
Try your best, you know, but plan ahead.
Organize yourself, plan ahead.
Yeah.
Plan ahead. Take your time. Do your research. Do your homework. Own your own process. That's the only way to make it work out right. Just don't rely your the next part of your life to some immigration agent.
Yeah.
Don't do that. We've seen people doing that and not, no, okay, everything will be done. Everything will be taken care of. No.
Yeah.
You have to own and always be on top of everything.
Exactly. And spoiler alert for the next episodes, because we're gonna talk about things that we didn't own properly in the beginning of our process to come to Canada, and we suffered with that.
Yeah. Even though we planned a lot. Okay, so I guess about time to wrap up this video here.
Yes.
It's been like one of the longest so far.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, I think just like to keep in mind things that we mentioned like during this video are just like to do your research, plan ahead, you know, maybe learn the language, that would be very helpful, right?
right.
Like, you know, again, get to know the ins and outs of the places you go, try to, you know, like do as much as research as you can about, you know, like the tenancy.
Yeah, just make sure you try to cover your bases. Don't be
Yeah.
fooled. Don't let someone try to make a fool of you. Really glad that we have those stories to talk to you. Otherwise, our life would have been so boring.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for taking this part of the journey with us here. I really hope that you enjoyed this video as much as we enjoyed talking about it, talking
Yeah.
about our experiences in Barcelona.
Yeah.
If you like it, please hit the subscribe button, like us. That help us a lot. That means a lot.
Yeah.
I really hope that you learned something from us today, something
Yeah.
that could be useful and helpful for you. And
Somewhere here, stay tuned for the next video.
here you have links for previous videos as well. And see you in the next episode.
Ciao.
Ciao.